Hello, I'm David Voiles, a technical evangelist at Microsoft, and I'm going to show you how you can help get yourself into the games industry. A common question I receive is, how do I get into the gaming industry? In fact, I was just part of a panel at PAX in Seattle a few weeks ago, and the panel was titled very similar to this, but it consisted of 5 individuals where we each showcased how we got into games while taking a different path for each of us. So what I wanted to do was actually create a series of videos based on that panel and information I commonly hear for best practices about how to get into the gaming industry. Now, this isn't necessarily geared towards just programmers, but it'll also be applicable to people who are artists or making music as well. But the thing I want to focus on for this particular video is actually creating a digital resume, a digital profile, I should say. So what I always suggest people do is start with a website. Now, I know right away you may think a website, so you probably have to be a web developer, but fortunately, there are several tools that we can use today to help us get started, even if you haven't touched a line of code before. You can use something such as WordPress, which even to this day is what I end up using, largely because it makes it extremely easy to write blog posts and also to share a lot of your work. But if you want, you can roll your own site. You can even begin with something like the HTML5 boilerplate, which is created by several web developers across the world, built on best practices, and allows you to create very quickly a scalable website that allow you to adapt to various screen sizes and resolutions. But going back to WordPress, let's say you want to start here, and this is where I suggest most people start with as well, for a number of reasons. It'll allow you to create static pages, that is a page that does not change over time. Perhaps you want to host your resume there. And if you do, you may want to put something like a PDF and Word copy of your resume so it makes it easier for headhunters or job recruiters to find it and also put it into their database. But maybe you want to make and stylize an entire HTML5 page dedicated to just your skills and your traits. That'd be a good idea as well. In addition to having a resume page, you also want to have links to your social media. If you're looking to get into games, it'd be very important to do something like get involved on Twitter. Doesn't mean you have to be the most social butterfly in the world, but at least keep your thumb on the pulse of to what's happening in the games industry. Be aware of who is making things happen and just understand the day's news. In addition to this, you have the ability to very quickly and easily write blog posts with WordPress. So blog posts are important because it informs others as to what you are doing. So if you're looking to get into games and become hired, maybe you don't want to work on your own things, but you'd like to work for an independent studio or perhaps a larger studio, well, a blog is a great way to get noticed because it'll illustrate your skills and traits and what you're working on. So when people go to hire you, they're very much taking a risk on your knowledge and your background and what you know how to do. They're trusting and hoping this. So if you at least have a blog where you can illustrate problems you've come across, solutions to those problems, and even what you're working on, it can very much help those companies mitigate some of that risk because they can then see immediately what you do and don't know. Furthermore, it's a great way to showcase and show off a lot of the content that you're working on. Maybe you're writing your first web game. Perfect, host it right there inside of your own site. Or perhaps you're writing a game in the Unreal Engine or Unity. Well, you can link directly back to them within your site as well. So coming back to the actual resume piece, I always suggest that people create a single page resume, so very simple, very straightforward, and more than one page, and the recruiter is likely not going to read the rest of it as they quickly scan over things and just skip out the parts that are not applicable. So for that reason, I always suggest creating a very simple, straightforward Word as well as PDF document, but maybe you want to stylize something a little bit better and make it stand out a bit more. That's a great idea as well. Fortunately, there are many Photoshop templates that you can download for free on the internet that allow you to stylize and highlight your resume. Another key feature of this is you can often add an image of yourself or your face to that resume. Some people are against this. I've always felt it was a good idea because it allows me, as someone looking for individuals to bring onto my team, a very simple way of just remembering who you are. So you'll often find with business cards, people will occasionally have an image of their self or their face on their card, and that's because if you go to these large conferences like PAX or GDC, you may hand a number of cards back and forth, and at the end of the conference you have 100 cards and you're thinking, who was this person? Dave Voiles, I don't remember them. But if you have their image right there, now they instantly stand out in your mind. But going to more of the creative side, perhaps you're an artist and you also want to showcase your work. Well, there are a number of places you can do this as well. One very well-known place is DeviantArt. You can post your content there. They have a very active forum where fans of your work can also comment and go back and forth and see what you're working on. I also implore you to take a look at Reddit. It is simultaneously the best and also the worst place on the internet. I think it's largely based on the subreddits that you're viewing, but there can be a great community in many of these subreddits for you to get feedback on your work, but also to showcase what you're doing and largely get found. So start to create a bit of a community there, get involved, ask questions. For musicians, SoundCloud and Louder are two fantastic services for hosting some of your content and getting the word out there. In addition to YouTube, you can very easily and quickly create your own YouTube channel where you can host a lot of your own projects. And this is for even the artists or the programmers as well. As you're starting to work along and build some of your projects, why not highlight what you're doing as you're moving along? Why not say, I got stuck on this problem and here's how I resolved it? You'd be amazed in that you may be helping out other people along the way who have similar issues. For programmers, Stack Overflow is a fantastic place to start. You can either ask or answer questions there. And that's often a very good recruiting ground for a lot of people looking to bring people into the gaming or programming and tech industries. Because again, immediately they can see quite a bit about you through your digital resume or profile, we'll say. In addition to that, there are several engine-specific forums. So again, I was harping back on Unity and the Unreal Engine, both of whom have very active forums, and they're very popular tools, not only for independent developers, but also for AAAs as well. So if you can show you're very active in the forums, that may often lead to work for you. So with a lot out of the way, you may think, well, how do I get a website up and running? Well, fortunately, at Microsoft, we have a program called BizSpark, which will allow you as a startup, even if that's just you, a single individual working on your own, you're still considered a startup in our eyes. We can help you get off the ground with our $150 a month for web hosting, which for most people is absolutely more than enough to host their website as well as several of their own videos and get your projects off the ground. So to find out more about that, feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Dave Voiles, or head over to my website at davevoiles.com, and I would love to connect you with our BizSpark program and get you set up. And on the next follow-up video I'll have shortly, you'll see more about how to get into the games industry. If you have some other follow-up questions or perhaps something you'd like me to address publicly, feel free to reach out to me, and I'd love to create a short video on that as well.